Okay, there we go. I think we are live now. Let me fix our mic here and get us started. Okay. Hey Ethan, what's going on, brother? Good to have you. And anyone else who is joining either live or via replay, just go ahead and let me know what's going on. Who's here? Where you from? How's the weather? In the comments section. And if you have any questions as we go, again, whether you're live or on the replay, just go ahead and drop them in the comments. I do have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to be doing after this call, so I might not get back to you right away, but certainly over the weekend or at the latest on Monday, I'll come into the comments and address anything that's needed. All right, so we're in week 8. Now, those of you who have been with me for the last couple months now know that what we're doing here is we are taking 21 really, key topics, key tenets that need to be ingrained, need to be part of the fabric of who you are as a real estate investor, and covering those topics so that you can go out and get deals done. Now, obviously, I'm a very big proponent of getting coaching and hand-holding and guidance to step you through to the other side on this journey. You don't have to have coaching. It just works a lot better than when you do. The metaphor I always use is if you drive a car across country and you use a road map, you can get from point A to point B, but it's going to be anxiety producing. It's going to be stressful. You're going to probably make some mistakes along the way. And nowadays, we don't do things like that. We use a GPS. We throw it on the dashboard of our car, or it's already a navigation system in our car, and you can get anywhere from point A to point B with no stress, relaxed, follow the directions, and you get there. That's what a good coach will do for you. Doesn't have to be me. Don't even take everybody. You're welcome to jump on a Zoom call, and I'm happy to talk to you about what might be a good fit for you, whether it's me or someone else. But you do need to get coaching most of the time. Now, having said that, and the reason I'm bringing this up is not as a shameless self-promotion here, but surprisingly, I had 2 success stories this week based on folks who have come through just the roadmap. They're not even actually a client. And both of them went out and made north of 10 grand on a deal structure type that we've talked about through this training, and they attributed it largely to what they learned in terms of how to talk to the seller, which is what we're going to talk about here today. So that's the kind of thing that makes me feel good. That's the kind of thing that makes me want to continue doing this, even for a lot of the folks that aren't actually in the part of my private group of clients where we have discussions every single day. We're on the phone every single night doing deals and talking about how you structure things and how you optimize deals to make money in this business. So anyway, very encouraged about that. And again, any of you who have not spoken to me, feel free to jump on a Zoom call. We'll do it one time and determine if it's a good fit or not. If you come into the program, then I talk to you just about every day to the extent that you want to, really for the rest of your real estate career. Because my whole mojo here is it creates deal flow for me later on, because oftentimes I can get you trained up really good on this. You'll start making money at it, and then you come across deals that are a little bit too big for your britches, and maybe we JV on things down the line. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from on this, and that's why I don't charge very much for the coaching. It's not me trying to build out a big coaching business. It's me trying to get a good cadre of folks trained with fine-tuned skills so that they can go out and make money, and then they're happy with me. And then, like I said, folks tend to come across deals that are bigger than what they can handle and get me involved, and I don't have to scour the earth for deals because I have I have folks that are kind of have their eyes out. And it actually makes you the 800-pound gorilla of your marketplace, because there's no deal you have to turn down. Certainly you don't have to turn it down because of a lack of funds. I'll fund any deal that makes mathematical sense in the millions. Okay, so we can talk about that on Zoom. If you want to jump on a Zoom call, you know how to do it. All right, having said all of that, let's chat a little bit about where we are. So this whole system is built on the idea of improving your conversion ratio with the seller. Meaning, we want to be the Amazon.com for our sellers. We want to be able to service whatever choice they make in the disposition of their house. And we can. And we can monetize that for ourselves and for them. So any seller, any house, any market, without using any of your own money or any of your own credit, is what we are able to do when we get trained on how to do this. So that is the basis for everything. Is it allows you to be agnostic when you talk to the seller. It allows you to just ask them questions and plug them into the right strategy along the way, one that you can monetize. And then it just becomes a matter of whether they're going to choose you or not, and whether or not you even want to take their deal on. So by having that approach versus trying to pressure somebody into selling their house at 60 cents on the dollar, or trying to pressure somebody to take full price but we'll give them terms, we simply ask questions and allow them to make us the offer, which most of the time they will do. Doesn't mean we're going to take that offer, but we will make a determination on whether or not we want to work with them, because we know that no matter what they do on the continuum of alternatives that they have for selling their house, we can service 100% of them. Okay, so it becomes a matter of, one, do you want to do the deal? And then them being willing to do the deal with you. And that determination on their part is made by how they perceive your character. Are you transparent? Are you genuine? Are you authentic? Right? People want to work with folks like that. And secondly, what is your competency? Okay, character and competency. Competency, your expertise, your ability to articulate what's in it for them. That is what is going to get you a lot of deals, and that is what is going to improve your conversion ratio. So the first few weeks of this program, we really talked about strategy, deal structures, uploaded them to your brain, but that's not enough. You can't just have it in your brain. You got to be able to get it out of your brain and into the seller's brain. And the way we do that is through language, being able to articulate our thoughts. Folks, there is no more important skill in life outside of real estate, inside of real estate, than being able to communicate effectively. You got to get your words together. I'm nowhere near perfect. Nowhere near perfect. You know, south side of Chicago boy with a funny, I had some folks in the UK. I'm doing a biotech deal with these folks in the UK. They all said I had a funny accent and I talk funny. And I think they talk funny, but they think I talk funny. So by no means am I sitting here trying to say that I'm the most articulate person on earth. However, I'm past a threshold where I know that I can get deals done because I can communicate effectively with sellers. That's all you really have to do, is get over a line to where you are able to communicate effectively. You got to get your words together, folks. And that's an important part of this program. That's why after we get the strategy in your head, we focus on scripts. Now, I don't want you to sit there and read a script to the seller, right? That doesn't come across so well. You lose the genuineness, the authenticity component that we talked about. But I do want you to start with scripts. You're on the phone, you're not on video, so that, if you can read it well, then no one knows you're reading a script. But once you've done that several times, you're not going to need the script anymore. It's going to be embedded within your understanding of what we're doing, and you can just communicate effectively to the seller. So we start off with scripts. We start off with our approach. How do we approach the seller in a way that puts them at ease, lets them know that we're out here, we can buy their house, here's the ways that we can do it, and are they down with this? Are they down with that? Would you prefer this? Would you prefer that? And in that way, they end up making us the offer, and then we determine what we want to do from there. Okay, so strategy, approach, and then the next piece is our dialogue, going back and forth. There's going to be objections, concerns, questions. What if this happens? What if that happens? And we address those. So I've talked, I think, or actually, you know what? We're doing a lot of that. Yeah, we're doing that in the next 3 weeks. We're going to go heavily into objection handling, all the things that come up. Well, hey, I got to get my money out of this one. If I don't get my money out of this one, how am I going to have a place to live? Oh, well, you're not going to own the house. Okay, well, what if they tear up the house? Well, hey, if I give you the deed and my name stays on the loan, won't the bank call it due? All of these questions that potentially come up, right? Why don't I just list it with a realtor? Why don't I just, I could just rent it myself. All of these questions come up. You got to know how to answer them, okay? Or address them anyway. So we're going to go over that. But before we do, it's really, really important to understand how you roll. What is your posture? You know, I use kind of that little cute attention-getting email. What did I say? I said, I think the title of the email was Real Estate and Sex, because they are congruent in a lot of ways, in the sense that when you think about relationships, and not to digress into this whole thing, I got some flack for that email, but there is a certain way that you carry yourself that is attractive, that has absolutely nothing to do with what you say. It has to do with how you roll, what's your mojo, what's your vibe. And I use the example of, you know, in my younger days, I live in Vegas, right? So, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but every now and then, you know, you hang out with some friends, you're in the casino or whatever, and, you know, everybody's trying to have a good time. And I've literally seen guys who kind of have this posture, right? They have this way about them where, you know, girls are just totally attracted to them, and they're not even handsome guys or anything like that, right? But they just have a way about them. Anyway, this one dude says it doesn't matter. It has to do with your posture. He literally goes up to this beautiful, beautiful woman and says, hey, do you like salad? And it was just the way he said it, and they just hit it off. And, you know, next thing you know, Jed's a millionaire, right? So you'll get that reference if you're old like me, right? Beverly Hillbillies. But anyway, here's my point. What we want to talk about before I get into this dialogue that over the next few weeks where we talk about objection handling is I want to talk about your posture. How do you come across with the seller? Are you begging? Are you pleading? Do you sound needy? Right? You could have all the right pickup lines and stuff, but if you come across needy to a girl and you're trying to get her number, you ain't getting her number. Nobody wants neediness. Nobody wants someone who doesn't project a certain amount of confidence. And that is very true with sellers as well. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to get any sellers by saying, hey, do you like salad? But if you have a certain vibe that you put off, a no BS vibe, it tends to work really well. Now, you can do this in the aggressive way that I speak. I'm from Chicago. You know, people are just a little bit more assertive, a little bit more aggressive, generally speaking, just because it's sort of like an urban environment, obviously. But you can be meek, you can be soft, you can talk slowly, and as long as it's projected with confidence, then you're going to be fine. So you don't have to, you don't have to talk fast. Like I probably talk a little bit faster than normal. So it doesn't have to be my style. You can have the exact opposite style of me as long as the inner core is projecting being strong, being confident, being assertive, and being no nonsense. Okay? You have to communicate transparency, genuineness, authenticity in addition to your expertise and competency, okay? So that's what we're talking about here. So I'm going to go through these things with you, and hopefully it'll resonate in terms of how you want to project yourself on the phone with the seller. The attitude that I want you to have is no big deal. No big deal. Now, I know when you're getting on that phone, right, you might be nervous at first about calling them, and you really want this, and you're really desired of it, and what am I going to say if they do this, and what am I going to say if they do that? That's going to go away after you make enough calls. Your attitude needs to be no big deal. Here's somebody that I'm going to call. They have a house for sale. I buy houses. Let me find out what the deal is. It's no big deal. Even when you get the deal, it's no big deal until you actually have the deal, right? Sometimes these deals fall apart, believe it or not, right? Even when the seller tells you they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We had that happen on a deal this week, a $1.3 million duplex, where seller was all hot and bothered about doing the deal with us, and then, at last minute they kind of changed their mind. That happens sometimes. So don't get all excited. You don't have the deal until you have the actual deal, right? So, all right. So here's I'm showing you a sheet. This is like the sheet that I use within my program. We go through this in much more detail, obviously, than a 30-minute call here. But one of the things, it's a placard that I have hanging over. I have a gym in the house here, and it says, Add it right when you walk in, right when you walk past the doorway. There's a placard. It says attitude is a choice. So pick a good one. Folks, that's true with everything. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always choose what your reaction is to what happens to you. I say that to my kids all the time, that they think they have bad stuff happen to them, and I'm like, okay, so what'd you do about it? You can't always control what people bring your way, but you can control how you react to it. Get control of what's going on between your ears, guys and gals. That's the most important thing you can do, is to have control in here. You have choice. Don't believe all this victim BS that's out there. Look, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be an expert in any subject in this country in a few years. Now, you don't have to be accepted to a school. You can go on YouTube and learn just about anything. Now, you're not going to learn it as good if you don't have a coach, but you can learn just about any subject you want. And don't let anyone pull you into this idea that you have to be a victim. Okay, you don't. How you react to people that do things that might be unfair to you is your choice. And I'm telling you to pick a good one. That's what my placard says anyway, okay? That's the general attitude you also want to have when you're buying a house. Sometimes the sellers aren't the nicest people in the world, right? They were expecting to get 100% offer on their house, and here you are talking about, hey, look, we could buy it, we could pay full price, but we'd ask you to be a little bit patient, meaning we'll make you monthly payments for a period of time until we pay you off in full. Is that something you could work with? Some people, believe it or not, this doesn't happen, very often to me anymore, because there's a certain way that I'm, exactly what we're talking about here, that I'm approaching the seller. But, you might have someone tell you to F off. No big deal. Don't get all emotional about it or get all upset or discouraged about it. That kind of thing happens. Not everybody's going to be our cup of tea, right? Okay. Here's the things that I want you to pay attention to. First of all, understand this. You are the buyer. They are the seller. Usually, the seller is the person who has to sell you something, not the buyer. Project yourself as you are the buyer. You're trying to make a determination on whether you want this house or not. Okay, so you should be qualifying them or disqualifying them, as it were. Okay, you're the buyer, they're the seller. Remember that. Here's another one. We ask questions to let them make us offers. And this is from Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. And it says, negotiating is about the other party convincing themselves that the solution you want is their own idea. Another way of saying that is negotiation. And write this down. I think there'll be captions on this later, but at least on the YouTube version of this, there'll be captions. But and by the way, if you go subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you'll be notified as I load things up there. Sometimes there's things in YouTube that aren't on the Facebook group. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think it's YouTube Joel Sangerman or YouTube Terms Daddy, something like that. Maybe I'll put a link in here if you can't find it. But there are captions on the YouTube videos, I think. So negotiation. Negotiation is the art of letting the other person have your way. How cool is that? Negotiation is the art of letting the other person have your way. Isn't that cool? I love that. All right. Number 3. There was a Jerry Seinfeld interview with Howard Stern that I thought he made a brilliant point. Jerry Seinfeld says that he goes through his comedy so carefully as to select every single word that he presents from the stage, and he talks about word economy. His view is that that's the secret to being effective. Get your point across in as few words as possible. Obviously, I need a lot of help with that, right? Because I am a wordy father mucker for sure. But like I said, you don't have to be perfect. You want to try to get as good as you can at these tenets. But word economy is critical. Number 4, I already said it. Don't come across as needy. Okay, needy is, well, why not? Why won't you take terms? Or asking person arguing with somebody, saying it a second, third, fourth time. They already get the point. They're not wanting to do it. You're not going to convince them by just repeating yourself. Get good at saying it the first time, and if they don't want that, move them along the continuum. Remember, we can make a deal no matter what they do. Okay, even if they want to sell it with a Realtor. That's why I recommend you guys get a Realtor license. Go watch that training, or at least have one on your team. Okay, number 5, don't over-explain. Shouldn't have to go through things a million times with folks. Number 6, Rehearse your scripts and objection handling until you know them perfectly. I went through the script thoroughly 2 weeks ago. Watch episode 6 or week 6. The next 3 weeks, I think we're going over objection handling. So when we do that, play it back, rehearse it, get good at it. Okay? Number 7, very few objections come up without you somehow raising them yourself. Sometimes you talk too much and end up bringing up objections that weren't even going to come up. So get to the conclusion with the seller. It'll allow you to get through more sellers and get more deals done. Number 8, don't expect to persuade, just provide the best answers to questions. So this is sort of a precursor to what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. In that, the answers that I'm going to give you to the questions that come up, like a real common one is, hey, what if I don't, if I'm fine selling the house to you because I want to get the high price that you're talking about, but if I take monthly payments, how am I going to have enough money to buy another house? That's a very common thing that comes up, right? They want to get the money out of their house if they have some in it and buy another one or do something else with it. And we've got to be able to address that. So I'm going to give you the optimal answer to that next week, but it doesn't mean that it's going to convince everybody. So don't go into an answer expecting that you're going to persuade somebody. Tell them the true, transparent, authentic answer and let them respond. You can't get in people's brains and know what they're going to say and what they're not going to say. It's another thing that people do is they just because you wouldn't sell your house subject to existing financing, keeping a loan in your name, and then giving it to somebody else so that they can make the payments. Just because you went to that doesn't mean that loads of people don't do that all around the country. There's all kinds of reasons why people do things. Okay, don't project your values onto somebody else. Number 9, use questions after statements. You're better off asking questions, the Socratic method. There's another book called Socratic Selling that you could check out. I forget who wrote it. But you say things like, does that sound good? Does that make sense? Is that fair? Don't you agree? And that'll help. Number 10, I'm going through 20 of these, so I'm going a little bit fast because I don't want to keep you too late here. Tell it like it is, even if you think seller will not like it, or you'll end up losing deals and wasting time when they figure it out. Yeah, that's another thing, guys. Don't withhold information just so you can feel good about the call. Tell everybody every single aspect about what we're doing. That means we do have to learn what their lowest price is, what the lowest monthly payment that they'll take is. We have to learn the longest duration that they'll give us, and they have to understand what the situation is with respect to a down payment. Don't just avoid that conversation, okay? Tell it like it is. If someone says, won't the bank call the loan due? Don't say no. Say the bank has I'll get into this in objection handling, but the bank has the option to call it due. It's just we find that it's unlikely that they would do that because they'd rather have payments than houses. Wouldn't you agree? To use exactly what I said in number 9. All right, we'll get into that again over the coming weeks. Number 11, some sellers need us more than we need them. Okay, we're determining if they're one of them or not. So remember the expression, some will, some won't, so what, someone's waiting, next. Okay, don't get hung up with a particular seller. Number 12, be careful not to use the scripts as a permanent crutch. So if you watched 2 weeks ago, maybe you wrote that down, or maybe you got the captions or something like that and screenshot that or whatever, or you're using my book of scripts. I'll send that to you if you don't have it. That's the 2020 version. I've updated it a little bit, but that'll still help you. I can send you the one, the 44-page manual or ebook if you don't have that already. And I don't want you to use that as a crutch. At first, it's okay to use it as a crutch, but nobody walks on, very few people walk on crutches forever, right? If you break your leg or whatever, you walk on it for a little while until you strengthen your ability to not have to use the crutch. Well, that's what we're trying to do by using the crutch, strengthen our ability to understand what we're doing, and then we can stay on the straight and narrow path according to the script and try not to go off the ranch too much. Stay on script as much as possible, but be able to do it naturally. That's what we're going for. And number 13, get their numbers and be prepared to walk away. Ask questions, don't counter. I talked about that in the session a couple weeks ago about the script. There's a negotiation cascade. Hey, is that the best you can do? Okay, well, you're headed in the right direction. What would be your next choice? Okay, are you telling me that if I don't give you every penny of that, it's no deal? I just asked questions, right? I didn't counter. Oh, okay, I'll give you 120. No, I'm not countering. I'm asking them questions trying to determine the lowest price I could get out of them, or the lowest monthly, or the longest duration. Ask questions. Don't counter yet, okay? Number 14, get off the phone with people who are jerks. What you get early on with people is what you get later on with people. Okay, I mean, it's not 100% of the time true, but a lot of the time it's true that the red flags that you see early on with people often manifest later. And I don't want to deal with somebody in a longer term relationship, right, if I'm already having red flags on the first phone call with them. There's malleable people, there's people who are a pleasure to work with, and there's plenty of deals out there. Let's go for those. Number 15, don't be a research nerd before talking to the seller. I've seen people do this. Literally sending me a PDF file with 20 pages of research on the house, the area, the neighborhood, the repair estimate, and they haven't even called the seller yet. So they did 20 pages of research on the house, and then they call the seller and says like, oh yeah, we just sold it. Or, oh yeah, I've got it listed with a realtor now. There's just a total waste of time. Call the seller. Call the seller. That's how you make the money, is getting in the dialogue with the seller. You could do your due diligence and your research later. We got to learn what they're willing to do, and then we'll diligence the property. Number 16, and I already said it. The mission is to learn 4 metrics. Really 5, right? Because this mostly occurs after we learn if they're willing to take a monthly payment for a period of time until we pay them off in full. If we get a yes or a maybe on that, then we've got to learn 4 metrics. Price, monthly payment, duration, meaning how long till we pay them off in full, and then if there's a down payment or not. And there's a particular way that we talk about down payment. And I don't use we usually buy with nothing down, okay? I consider that a second place finisher to the way I do it, which I explain in detail in week 6. Go check out week 6 if you haven't seen it. It's in the events tab of this group. Number 17, get to the conclusion. It doesn't need to take long. You could call 100 sellers in the next 30 days by just spending an hour a day at this. And you'll probably beat that, actually. And the reason I say that is your average call, the people that you're going to do deals with, sometimes it's longer than 15 minutes, but then the people you aren't going to do deals with, maybe it's 5 minutes, right? So if you average 15 minutes per call, that's 4 an hour. That means 25 days from now, you could have 100 calls in, right? 30 days from now, you could have 100 calls in if you take 5 days off of an hour a day. Okay, it's very simple. Get to the conclusion. This doesn't need to take long. Number 18, the house doesn't matter. The house doesn't matter. The terms matter. Like I get people telling me about deals. Oh, well, it's got this beautiful lake and it's, in this beautiful neighborhood, or, it's got these palm trees, whatever. I don't care. Okay, these are boxes that people live in, right? I care about what's the math. What are the terms? Look, if I get good terms on a deal in Flint, Michigan, no offense to people in Flint, Michigan, I will like that deal better than a deal that I don't get good terms on in Vail, Colorado. I would rather live in Vail, Colorado than Flint, Michigan, most likely. But from an investment standpoint, if I get good terms on a house, I'm gonna, and I can make more money on it. That's what I like. So stop worrying about the house so much and find out what the terms are. The terms matter more than the aesthetics of the house. Although I will say that if you come to work with me, I want you guys focused on the median priced house to above, because those are easier to sell. That's where people want to live. The median price range today is somewhere around $341,000. Forget all that $60,000, $70,000 stuff because you think you can afford it. There's no money being exchanged from us anyway on these deals, right? We're getting it without using our money or our credit. I'm going to show you how to do that if you'll allow me. Okay, so focus on nicer houses, meaning average to above, median to above, but then focus on the terms, not necessarily the house so much. Okay. Number 19, the seller advertised the house and you're calling. Okay. They should be thankful. They want the phone to ring. So don't be so timid like you're bothering them. They want you to call. Okay, if you're getting bad feedback from the seller, it's because your MOJO isn't proper. It's because you're not using this posture that I'm talking about here. Record your calls to the extent that you legally can, and listen back to those calls for training purposes, and see how you're coming across. Okay, it's really important to do that. And that just brings us to the last one, number 20, which is don't act like the seller's doing you a favor. They aren't doing you a favor. You're the buyer, which was point number 1. You're the buyer. They've got a house for sale and you're looking to see if you want to buy it. Play the role of the buyer, not a buyer who has to sell the seller into selling you something. Could you imagine going and buying a car and begging the car salesperson to sell you the car? You kidding me? You're the buyer. Act like it. All right. Let me just look in the comments here. I see, there you go, Christy. I like that comment for sure. So look, I'll come in and check these comments. Hello to everybody else that's in the group that I didn't say hi to earlier. And I will wish you all a wonderful Saturday, a wonderful rest of the weekend. And I will catch up with you next week where we're going to go over objections, or, we can carry on the conversation in the group. Or, hey, look, jump on a Zoom call. Let's see if this is for you. Okay, I'll show you what all this can entail and look like financially for you when you get the proper guidance. Not just the roadmap, you get the GPS level guidance. All right, y'all have a good one, and I will sign on out. Have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.